This video is a walk around of a unique vehicle located currently at the National Armor and Cavalry Collection out at Fort Benning in Georgia. This commentary is based off of historical information assisted by historian Ed Francis, and sources for this information can be found at the end of the video and the description below. So let's begin. The MBT70, or KPZ-70, was a joint project between the US and the Federal Republic of Germany to produce a new generation of main battle tanks during the 1960s. This particular machine is a bit of an oddity. It's known as the XM803 Pigg, and is named after Colonel Jimmy Pigg, who modified it with parts from an M60 and M88 to make a much cheaper XM803 surrogate. It has the MBT70 turret, but a torsion bar suspension, and was used briefly in the XM1 development cycle before being abandoned. It is the only one of its kind. Developed as a joint project to counter the latest perceived armored threats the Soviets might be working on, the MBT70 design was to be a leap forwards in technology over the previous vehicles such as the American M48 and the German Leopard 1. The initial outlay was for a 3-man, well-armored vehicle with good mobility and a dual-purpose 152mm XM150 gun and missile launcher, which could use both conventional ammunition and the Shillelagh missile for long-range combat ties to an automatic loading system, as well as other novel features included an adjustable hydraulic suspension, fuel and steel laminate armor, as well as an erectable 20mm RH-202 autocannon for dealing with any pesky helicopters that got too close. It was also unique in that the crew were all based in the turret with a counter-rotating compartment for the driver to keep him central, allowing for a lower profile and reduced volume. However, as with many joint projects, as soon as it began it ran into problems. With this vehicle and its features being so quirky and different, also meant it was incredibly expensive. One consultant at the time, the late professor and tank legend Richard Orgokowicz, noticed that it would simply be cheaper to bribe the Russians than to build this vehicle. Then came a series of design differences. The Germans wanted to use their new 120mm smoothbore gun, but the Americans were adamant on sticking to the 152mm combination gun, despite the Shillelagh missile having some issues which were well recorded at the time. The choice of engines for this vehicle was also a point of contention. The Germans wished to use their own 1500 horsepower Daimler-Benz engine, and the Americans wanted to use the 1470 horsepower 70 Continental V12 engine. With these arguments in mind, one has to remember that such a project like this would also increase jobs and political favor in East Host Nation if they used their own indigenously made equipment. The arguments went on, and although each nation was to make 6 vehicles each, which they did, the project fell short. Neither side would back down on what the final machine should have, and the costs were running over the 300 million mark, or over 2 billion in today's money, and that was not including the production or building, just the 2 prototypes. Both sides went their own way. The Germans kept their prototypes, and later with Project Boar and Wild Boar, as well as bits from the UK, future main battle tank program would go on to develop the Leopard 2. After the Germans left the deal, the US put an audit team into the mix, and the MBT70 was revamped as the XM803. This was to be a cheaper version in theory with only American-made parts, but the price once again began to spiral up and the project was finally terminated. The US, having adopted the new UK armor, moved over the XM1 concept, which evolved into the Abrams and ironically ended up with a 120mm German gun later on. Also located at the National Armor and Cavalry Collection is an MBT70, one XM803, and as well as this XM803 hybrid videoed here. At least 2 surviving prototypes of this project still exist in Germany as well. The main sources for the video on this vehicle is the US Armor magazine, which can be found online, specifically the January-February publication of 1987. Further information can be found in the published works of R.P. Honeycutt, and more information on the Shillelagh missile program can be found in the published works of Honeycutt as well. These sources are also in the links below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want some more tank talks, let me know what video on any vehicle that you would like to see, and follow the National Armor and Cavalry Collection on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as linked below.